The universe isn't a passive, empty container, it's a dynamic, three-dimensional lattice. What if our understanding of reality, from gravity to dark energy and quantum entanglement, could be explained by a geometric mechanical model where space itself is a tangible, active participant?
That's exactly the premise of this model, as outlined in the Cyclic quantum cosmology manifesto. It suggests we need to revisit fundamental concepts with a deeper perspective. Things we might initially see as simple, like the string, reveal a complex three-dimensional nature within a grid, with its full mechanical essence still being unveiled.
So, how does this geometric zero, this space devoid of loads, transform into everything we observe, from light to complex structures? What are the absolute foundational rules governing this microcosm?
The model proposes a rigid, deterministic code based on two fundamental entities. First, there's the string. This isn't just a two-dimensional filament, it's the geometric substance of space itself. It's described as, quote, volumetric fragments endowed with torsion born from the rupture of the large primordial slabs during the Big Bang, genuine little pieces of moving empty space, end quote.
Moving empty space. And what can these strings do?
They have precise structural tolerance and exist in three states, binding to another string to weave the three-dimensional texture of space, binding to a brane, or closing in on itself in an isolated state, becoming a graviton.
And the second entity, the brane, is that energy?
Yes, it's what we define and measure as energy, but it's not an abstraction, it's a real substance. Branes can't bind directly to each other, they must couple with a string, or remain free in the external bulk. Crucially, classical physics imagines energy sliding over a fixed spatial background, but this model inverts that. Branes, which are energy, are stationary vectors. It's the strings that, by sliding, swapping places, or joining, physically carry the branes with them.
That's a significant inversion of how we typically think about energy and space. But if strings are constantly moving and carrying branes, why is this geometric broth perpetually dynamic instead of settling into a motionless state? What's the origin of this movement?
It requires redefining time. Time isn't an absolute dimension. It's the mechanical flow of the brane from one string to another. This flow experiences accelerations and decelerations depending on the lattice's density. This concept unites space and time into a single dynamic entity, suggesting that space-time is the effect of this mechanical operation, not two separate things.
So time is just a consequence of these interactions, but why the perpetual motion? The text mentions a paradox of the pebble.
The pebble paradox explains it. Imagine throwing a pebble upwards in a closed system. It returns to its starting point, restoring equilibrium. But in the universe's evolution, this return to zero can't occur. The first Big Bang, described as a kinematic collision between large branes, injected immense kinetic energy into our subsystem, projecting strings outward.
And gravity comes from this?
Precisely. The strings mechanically tend to reverse their motion, to discharge that energy and return to a geometric equilibrium. This elastic reaction, this tendency to return, is what we perceive as gravity. However, the exact geometric coordinate of that first Big Bang no longer exists because space itself expanded and deformed. Since the original coordinate is gone, the kinetic energy remains trapped, condemning the universe to perpetual agitation. It's an elastic tension that never fully discharges.
That's a fascinating origin for gravity. So, after this initial impact, what was the early universe like?
In that initial post-impact state, strings and branes ideally maintain a 1-to-1 ratio. However, in low-intensity regions, strings can absorb small amounts of branes. These geometric micro-variations, strings carrying reduced amounts of branes, are what we macroscopically experience as unsaturated waves of the physical spectrum. The primordial universe was immense and completely dark, an undulatory broth of geometric waves with no visible light yet.
And the cosmic microwave background, our universe's oldest light, where does that fit in?
This original equilibrium is altered when strings begin to invade the space of other strings. As they slide past each other, load transfers occur. A single string can absorb an extra brane, altering homogeneity without breaking the undulatory nature of this dark universe. This continuous mechanical noise from sliding and load exchanges, which we perceive as background noise, aligns with the cosmic microwave background captured by astrophysicists.
So the CMB isn't the afterglow of light, but the sound of strings exchanging energy. This dark undulatory agitation sounds like it could continue indefinitely. What breaks that equilibrium?
The model proposes a second Big Bang, generated by the impact of new elements in the bulk in the immediate vicinity of our subsystem. There are two scenarios based on geometric compatibility. If the strings and branes are totally incompatible, nothing happens, and our universe remains a dark broth. But if there's even minimal compatibility, the strings from the second Big Bang latch onto and bind with the strings of the first.
And this latching leads to cosmic inflation.
Exactly. This forced bond between the two lattices causes an immediate, massive volumetric increase, expanding our common space. During this rapid expansion, not all branes react uniformly. Their evolutionary destiny is determined by kinematic chance, not their origin.
This is where dark energy and dark matter come in, isn't it? How does this model explain them?
Yes, reactive branes enter the evolutionary chain, undergoing compression and accumulation, but branes that remain free, without geometric compatibility with the new lattice, float freely, occupying geometric volume in the interstices. They don't aggregate into heavy matter or saturated waves. Instead, they act as an incompressible fluid, generating an intrinsic tension of the vacuum, forcing the grid to constantly widen. This manifests macroscopically as dark energy.
And dark matter?
That's a portion of the strings connected to branes that are excluded from the main evolutionary dynamics. They remain as a residual, unchanged primordial broth within the spatial fabric. This invisible, non-reactive component doesn't interact with light, but exerts a geometric mechanical presence. We perceive it through its interaction with gravity, as it still retains the mechanical tendency to seek equilibrium and respond to the general elastic deformation toward the geometric zero.
So dark energy is geometrically incompatible branes, and dark matter is residual strings. And what about light itself, the photons we actually see?
Under the pressure of the second Big Bang, reactive branes experience pressure gradients and space distortions. This allows strings to drastically increase the number of branes they host. As strings accumulate more brane energy, they move up different frequencies of the spectrum, still as unsaturated waves. This process continues until the strings reach their maximum undulatory absorption allowed by their structural tolerance. That point is the photon limit.
The birth of light, then?
Exactly. When a string is brought to maximum undulatory compression, completely saturated with branes, it doesn't break. It travels along the lattice as a saturated wave. This limiting case of absorption is what we mechanically define and measure as a photon.
This model proposes a binary system, like a computer's zeros and ones, with strings and branes representing empty space and energy loads. But how does this connect to quantum mechanics, like Heisenberg's uncertainty principle and quantum entanglement?
The model suggests that when a photon, which is a fully saturated string, is pushed beyond its absorption limit by even an infinitesimal amount of energy, it temporarily collapses and transforms into heavy matter. If it loses that extra energy, it reverts to a pure photon. This critical transition state between wave and matter is where something extraordinary happens.
A quantum limbo?
Yes, the photon temporarily crosses borders into a dimension we as four-dimensional beings can't perceive. It transits through an environment of the bulk devoid of linear space and time coordinates. In this non-space, non-time point, it can connect instantaneously with anything else in its universe, even billions of light years away, before re-entering our reality.
So Heisenberg's uncertainty is because part of the photon is in this limbo, and entanglement is instantaneous because in that limbo, space and time don't exist?
That's the geometric explanation proposed. The photon becomes indeterminate because a part of it is in this limbo, and long-distance contact is instantaneous because at that passage point, space and time effectively don't exist at all. This incredible journey into the microcosm is a central topic for future discussion within the Manifesto.
This geometric mechanical model, outlined in Cyclic quantum cosmology, provides a truly novel framework for understanding the universe, from the fabric of space to the mysteries of dark matter and quantum physics. If this exploration of a mechanical, elastic, and simple universe resonates with you, share this episode with someone who might find it equally thought-provoking.